Leave the challenges of the day behind you. Give yourself the gift of aromatherapy scents that evoke and inspire an extraordinary passion for life. Made with the finest botanicals, oils, and minerals, explore Passionary's collection of fragrant, all-natural bath salts, milk baths, soaps, serums, and candles. Visit us at livepassionary.com or on Instagram at livepassionaryofficial.
Hey, everybody out there in podcasts, YouTube land. Here we are once again, another installment of Not Your Common Conversation with my co-host, Omar Henderson.
Hi there.
I'm Chris Downing, and you lucky listeners out there, thanks for joining in.
Yeah, you lucky listeners get to meet Victoria Icenhower.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Victoria Icenhower.
What a name.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell us, what is it? Sex scientist?
Take it.
She cracks up.
I'll take it. Sex doctor, sex therapist, sex scientist. Officially self-love scientist.
Self-love.
Wow, interesting.
So let's talk about self-love. Well, hang on, before we do that, anything else? Yoga?
Oh, yes, I
Tell
do
us
practice
the list
yoga.
of all your shining.
I mean, we all have these titles, right? Like yoga instructor, you could be like a musician, you podcast hoster.
Right.
You know, for me, it's the self-love scientist, the yoga instructor, public speaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Public speaker, yoga instructor, love scientist. Self-love. I don't know why did I get sex out of that?
Scientist.
But let's.
Because
so we talked about that yesterday briefly,
we did.
where it was a question that you asked me. What was the question?
Yes. So, I tell people, "Oh, I'm the self-love scientist," and they go, "Well, what does that mean?" I say, "Well, what does self-love mean to you?"
Which was a great question, and I said, because one would often think that self-love. I don't know why. For a guy, I don't know. What comes up for you first?
That's interesting because I've often referred to it as if you saw yourself walking across the street and about to fall into a ditch,
right?
Would you stop yourself from falling? And that ditch could be metaphorical. I mean, it could be, those situations in your life where there's a red flag or a signal that goes off that this isn't good for me. But sometimes, and a lot of times, you'll continue to go through that into that ditch or through that process thinking, well, it's not good for me, but maybe I'll make the best of it, or maybe something good will come out of it. That's not self-love. That's abuse.
Well, what's okay?
So self-love,
what is self-love for
self-love would be being aware of what actually is good for you and following that path, and avoiding that which is not good for you. I mean, personally, it's like being aware of that. And quite honestly, I'd like to divert that question to you. What does self-love look like? Because to bring it up implies that a person may not know what it is.
Exactly.
So if they have no idea what to look out for,
right?
It's like
it's hard to even know what.
It's conceptual to them. Self-love, that sounds great, but what does that look like?
I mean, well, can I answer?
Yeah.
I know you're gonna really spell this out for us, but for me, the first thing that came to me is like I like to take nice long baths, right? Like that's part of self-love. Candles, the salts, the whole nine, flowers. I put petals, the whole thing, the whole thing, and so that's part of self-love. And sometimes it's just grabbing a moment to reflect, take a walk in the park or the walk in the woods. I think self-love, if I was to quantify it, is really being attentive and paying attention to yourself, giving yourself attention. Am I anywhere in the ballpark?
No, I agree with what you've said, and I love what you said too as well. It's that awareness, and again, by doing those things, like by having the bath, by taking the walks, what does that do for you? it's like nurturing your soul. It's filling your cup. You're reconnecting with yourself in a way that cultivates a sense of love.
Right. Being attentive to yourself. But how did you even get into this profession, by the way? How does one become a love scientist?
A love scientist.
A love scientist. Check that out.
Yeah.
She went to the Barry White School.
Yeah, right. Right. The love doctor.
Got my lab coat on.
Exactly.
Right.
You need one of those big reflector things.
Yeah. But really, I mean, so how long?
So it'll be a year next month.
Okay, and what led you to this?
So the biggest, I would say the biggest like moment, the pivotal moment was because I've had, like, we all have had our rock bottoms. I'm like, oh,
Sure.
I'll get back up and I'll change this habit, I'll change this, or
Right.
in my case, I'm gonna change them. I'm gonna change these people. I'm gonna change my job, and like just I'll find something else. As you were saying, I know this feels pretty toxic, but maybe it'll get better, and it doesn't. The universe, like, I keep throwing this, like, first it's the whisper, then it's the brick, and then it's the semi.
Right.
And for me, that semi moment was my rock bottom, my darkest night of the soul, where I found myself, I was in a marriage, I had a corporate career, I had a house, I had the dog, like the American dream.
Right. The trimmings.
Everything
Right.
that people strive for. And yet I was lost. I was completely disconnected from myself. I was like pulling up these habits that just, going out and like binge eating or staying out late and drinking. And it was
So
like,
you didn't feel fulfilled in that relationship.
yeah. And I was doing all these things to distract myself from the fact that even though I had everything, I had felt nothing. And it was, which I learned much later, that I was doing and living this lifestyle based on the expectations of what others wanted of me.
Right.
And not at any time did I ask, what do I want?
Right.
Because, when we do consider the fact of like, well, what do you want? We have a hard time. Like, we sit there and go,
What do I want?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point, because when you ask someone what do they want, they have a tendency of telling you everything they don't want.
Yeah.
right.
It's like automatic for them.
Yeah.
So it's people are unclear. So how have you found a way in which people can discover what they want? Like, if you were to pass on a tip to the audience right now, what's one thing they could do to get clear about what they want?
Huh.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's big.
I mean, just
It's a
one
big
thing,
question.
like,
I know, but that's also a big question, because I could, in the moment I could say, well, what do you want? And some people are like, well, I want $1 million. I said,
yeah,
do you though?
yeah,
Is
right.
that real?
Well, a good follow-up question for that is, okay, so what would the $1 million get you then?
Right. And that's the thing though. Like, I'm gonna follow up with even it's a thing where people go, once I have X, like once I have $1 million, then I can go do it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
people are like, well, once I have, once I finish this project, then I'll go out with my friends. But then they never go out with their friends.
Right.
Once I get this promotion, and then I'll finally take
Right.
myself
Or
on that.
get married.
Yeah.
Or get out of
Yeah, I
college.
would
You're
dare to
literally-
think that they don't want to be responsible, so they put this caveat in front of
That's
them
what I'm saying.
that keeps them from ever having to be responsible for being connected to their friends or accessing what they really want.
Exactly. I love that you said that, because for so long I kept, for me it was like, oh, woe is me, like this is so hard, until I finally realized it was me.
Yeah.
I am the one who's in charge.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And I was
right,
like,
right.
oh my God, you mean I can change this? You mean there's so much
You
more
have the
here?
power.
Exactly.
You have the power, yeah.
But we have lost that power.
Right?
We have lost
Or do
that
we give
power.
it away?
Or
Uh,
both.
Yeah, both. Well, yeah, we give it away and it gets lost,
Right.
I would dare say.
Yeah.
Because we forget the moment at which we give it away.
Sure.
And then
Or don't
we
even
assume-
realize it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we assume this new way of being based on this loss of power. We're trying to compensate.
It's going to fulfill me.
Exactly.
And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, you're there.
You're there. You
Self-love,
forgot.
having that cup of tea, and you're like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I should be happy. I have this, I have that, and,
Yeah.
and it's all the things that I wrote down on a piece of, or not wrote on a piece of paper, and I'm still not happy. And so self-love I would say, would give you a chance to really find out who you are as a person. Like, I don't think most people really pay attention, or we don't put emphasis on finding out who we really are. People tell you what you're supposed to be. You try to, whether it's a religion, whether it's school, whether it's chasing what money or whatever, or women,
Or friends.
Or friends.
Or media or a relationship.
Yeah,
they can
media.
drive you to
Oh my
you know,
God.
to show up in a way where it's like, well, you know, you need to be this way, you have to look this way.
Right.
And it's difficult.
It's so interesting you bring up the media, because the media wants you to be polarized, one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not necessarily black or white.
We're not.
We're in between. A lot of us are variants of different
mean-
things at any given time.
And sorry to distract. I'm not.
No, you're good.
You look at Elon Musk. You know, in one moment he says something that upsets people, but in another moment he says something. No, in one moment he says something that upsets this side of the room,
Right.
and in the next moment he says something that upsets this side of the room. But whenever he says, one side of the room is aligned. We, as human beings, are not freaking black and white. Stop treating us like that.
I think people like to. I think people like to pick teams. They like to be on the blue or the red or whatever
Winning.
team, and it's like we don't wake up. You know, we change. We're not monolithic. You know, we're very. You know, there's so many. I know
Across the
myself.
spectrum.
You know, as much as I love funk and jazz, they're great stories that I listen to country because there's great storytelling in it.
Yeah, how
right?
about that? Yeah.
And it's connected to the blues. We don't have to go into the whole music
exactly.
thing, but I'm just that's just but you know what? I digress. So you were
you were saying.
this whole thing with the love scientist. So tell us more.
Oh, what part did we leave at?
Well, I have a question for you,
Yeah.
a little more pinpointed. In your workings with people, so you coach people.
Yes.
All right, got it.
Yeah. I am. My passion is empowering women to experience pleasure.
Really?
Wow,
Yes.
spell that out. Tell us what
Yeah.
that's
Tell
about.
us
One more time.
Let's dig in.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, let's get out my notebook.
Take notes.
Yeah, right. Everybody, get this out.
Yeah, exactly.
So walk us through it.
Y'all pay
Oh, yeah.
close attention.
I will start with the most important thing, though. Like, so when I say pleasure, again, we'll play this game. What is the first thing you think of? And I promise you, there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer.
Well, that's
Well, let's
interesting.
make a list.
Make a list.
So you say the question was
Well, what does pleasure mean to you?
In the role of sex, or
In the
just
role of
or just anywhere.
anywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't always have to be sex, right?
No, it
It
Because
doesn't.
our mind
have to.
sometimes. Well,
I mean,
I'll
that's
speak
not
for myself.
That's not a bad thing. And like,
No.
for so long, people, again, with self-love, like I asked you that question and you had both two distinct, beautiful answers. And in the past, people would hear like, wait, like, are you, you know, I've had people ask me like, are you a prostitute? Like, are you a masturbation coach? And
Right,
I'm like,
right.
I'm like, I have the tools and information to help you with that. I will not be doing that with you.
Right.
Interesting.
But more of I pull it back to like it's really rebuilding this connection with yourself, and I integrate this element of pleasure, which is it's a sense, it's a experience, it's an emotion.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
Like you get pleasure in playing.
Yeah, so I was going to say
Music.
pleasure. One experience of pleasure is actually getting lost in the moment, like completely detaching from the environment and being in this. I don't know. This,
Bliss.
It's just this space. It's like the other day when you were playing piano, right? And you were focusing. You weren't focusing so much, but you had allowed yourself to become the sound you were making, and it shows in your face. There's like
I
this-
was?
Yeah.
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 Oh wow!
It shows in your face, and I've experienced that.
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
playing,
Because you're trying to
it's-
get to something.
yeah. Well, you're trying to get to something, but you're just there creating every moment, every step of the way.
Right.
And I've experienced that too. You know, playing music, it's like you just. Well, being a bass player, it's like you get into this groove, and then you go into the zone, and then you're just hypnotized.
See, and I love everything you just said, and I'm gonna connect that to imagine what that would be like for someone in a sexual experience to get lost.
Oh, I've
be
had those
hypnotized.
experiences.
Yeah.
I've had,
Long ago, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't wild.
It's
But
so funny.
no. I have those experiences.
Wouldn't that
But-
be nice if everybody had that?
Yeah.
So what do you? Okay, so hang on. Let's because we keep getting off track. So I just
No,
want you
this
to
is
walk.
on
We're
track.
swirling
This is
everywhere.
Oh, we're totally on
on
track. Okay,
track.
so what is? I come to you, man or woman, but you said mostly women.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Why so?
Why women?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think behind my messages, and I see women. I would say my demographics are 80 to 85% women. I've
Wow.
had male clients in the past. I've had males reach out to me. I love that I can provide a space for them. And I think, to answer your question, why, I think it's because my messaging gives them hope. Because it's, as we were discussing earlier, they see my story of how I took something that was, going through divorce. Like throughout 1 year, I experienced divorce, death, and I call it ramen noodle diets,
Yeah.
and it was just, but instead of
love
sitting
ramen
there
noodles.
and sitting in it and being like, trying to fight or trying to, blame or play victim, it was more
Right.
of like, no, I get to grow from this. Like I get to become something new from this, all on my own, versus attaching myself to an identity because it looks good. It was like, well, who do I want to become? And I learned to become the woman I am now through, navigating, navigating like pleasure, to be honest with you, like, because that was the thing that I was missing so much. Like intimacy is so important. However, you can't have the real intimacy getting lost and hypnotized with someone until you feel that way about yourself.
Wow.
Because otherwise I'm like literally throwing this list at you like, well, you're supposed to know how to do all these
Right,
things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, if you were to do that to me, I would be, I'd be like, really?
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds
That
like
makes
claiming
sense.
your own power.
Exactly.
Back to that. Right?
Yeah.
But your power, you can claim your power through pleasure.
Sure.
Through
I
pleasure.
would imagine.
Because
Tell
pleasure,
us about it.
expands your mind. It creates this experience where you're like, oh my gosh, I am so valuable. Like when you explained when you were telling the story about the instrument, oh my gosh, like getting lost in the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. There's
And-
there's moments you get lost in music. I mean, I've gotten lost in playing football. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I can remember. Oh my God. Yeah.
Playing football,
You're like,
really.
Yeah. So I want to share something with you.
Yeah.
It's the most romantic thing that's ever happened to me, and it didn't involve a woman.
What's that?
So my kids were playing football, little league, and just gonna set the scene. It's what day is it? It's like a Friday night, late fall. The sun is beyond the trees. The sky is clear blue, but the shadows have reached the whole field, but it's still bright out. And one of the head coaches, and we've got kids from ages 5 to 15, and one of the head coaches says, "Everybody take a knee," right? And so everybody takes a knee, and it just gets really quiet. Because tomorrow is the first day of games. We have games. And he goes, "How y'all feel?" And everybody says, "Fired up." And it reminded me of those moments in the movie Gladiator. When he was walking, and for every person who he passed, they stamped their sword in the ground. I don't know if you remember that scene. But it was just a great sense of, and that's a moment in which I experienced great pleasure. Mm-hmm. It was just this moment of community and I don't know, unity and energy, and that was romantic, and that was a moment of great
For
pleasure.
you.
For me, yeah.
Sure.
It was like,
Sounds. I mean, yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. But let me ask
well,
you
I
a
guess
question.
you would have had to been
Yeah,
there.
sure. No, I get it. But let me ask you a question. What is it? Do you think there's something? Because I have this. You've been the second woman that we've had on the show. This is the 9th episode, second woman, and we Omar and myself, we talked about really having the female energy. And so, but one of the questions that pops in my head when I think about having a female woman guest is, what do you think, what is it that men might not know about women? What, you know, not being a woman myself, is there something that do you think there's something that men generally miss? Wow, I know. Sorry to put you on the spot. Around, you know, you're a love scientist. Around, you said 80% of your clients are women. I'm thinking there's a reason for that. Is there something that men don't get that women get, or that women are innately in tune with that men might not be getting? You know what I'm saying? Does that
Like,
make sense?
are they trying to understand?
I'm just generalizing.
Or just in terms of like intimacy? Like, what
Yeah,
asking
about
for?
intimacy. I mean, you know, men, I mean, listen,
'Cause
women, I do believe women possess something special. I mean, every human being comes in this world through a woman, right?
Yeah.
There's no human being that enters this world as we know it, and just any living thing for the most part is by way of a woman. So that, you know, there's something special about
Yeah.
that right there.
Even Jesus Christ came by way of
Yeah, and so as they tell us, yeah, and so you guys, I feel like women are innately or easily more in tune with being sensitive, being intimate, and again, I'm generalizing, than the average guy. We're taught to be hard, and you guys are taught to be soft. And so by that, and I'm just generalizing, by that description, you know, when I think of intimacy, there's a softness to it. When I'm in the tub by myself, you know, I feel there's not hard doesn't come in play.
Right.
You know,
You allow yourself to be soft.
I,
Like,
in that moment, I'm just saying we identify with hard, and women, you know, maybe that's just me, but women tend to identify with soft. So do you think there's something that that women could maybe offer men in terms of intimacy?
When you say that, I immediately think of the fact that I like what you said. Men try to think more hard and women think soft. And the thing is, with intimacy, because women feel soft, they're so afraid to speak up. I swear, like,
Yeah.
the communicating,
Sure.
and also
Yeah.
to receive pleasure. Like,
It's harder for.
it's harder for her. It's harder for her to speak to you or let you know, because women, we have this fear of rejection. We have this fear of, if I tell you like how I truly feel, or like what I want to do, I'm afraid you'll reject me, or you won't. Yeah, you'll reject me. Rejection's huge.
Sure.
And through that rejection, you know, I'm gonna get all up in my head.
Yeah, can we just turn it down. Turn it down. Just turn it down. Turn it off.
I did.
Yeah. All right. So, but I think actually, because when you say rejection, as a man, I think I'm just as afraid of rejection. I think it's the images that we give. The society gives us these labels, and,
Yes.
and we have to sort of navigate and fight through them without being judged.
Yeah.
And so as a man, there are times I don't mind being soft, or I want to be soft, or I need to be soft in that moment. But there is something that fearfully that, you know, or not fearful, sometimes fearfully, nobody wants to be judged, right? And I think the same thing for a woman, you know, oh, she's too hard, you know, I mean, because we don't want to be the opposite of what society says we should be, because we'll be judged in that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that?
I
don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I hear what you're saying, and my response to that is, you know, like you said, the man, he's like, I'm a man, but also men need love too. Women need love too.
Humans.
Humans need love.
Not just
Period.
humans, right?
Like, everybody needs love.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we have such a hard time allowing ourselves that, because at one point when we were younger, or, you know, through another lifetime, we experienced some form of like rejection, or it wasn't available to us, or it was in some form we were made to feel guilty to ask for it. And that's why, you know, women have a hard time saying, you know, slow down, go faster. Or you could tell her to put on laundry. You could think she's the most beautiful woman in the world. If she doesn't feel that way in her body, I guarantee you it's not going to be a good time for her.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because at the end of it, like once you finish and then you're like, you know, enjoying, you could be cuddling in bed, and all she wants to do is make you happy. So she's going to tell you, yeah, it was great. But deep down, she's like hurting because she's like, why? And she's thinking about herself. You know, in most cases, she's thinking about herself, and she's facing a lot of shame. And there are other, you know, unfortunate circumstances where she is thinking about the other person, you know.
Mm-hmm. So I got a question that just came up. What are men missing in the sexual experience that sort of bring women to you? I mean, have you heard? Is there something that women mention in your conversations that in their experience with men that
Like what they want?
yeah yeah
What women want?
Yeah, what women. There you go.
What
that's
do
what we're
women
trying to
want?
get.
Exactly.
As two guys, we're trying to
Exactly.
figure out what's the missing.
All right, guys, here's the gold nugget. Pull the notebook out.
Exactly.
So the question is, what do women want?
What do women, or what's missing in the sexual relationship maybe with men? You know, what are women not getting
Right.
in sexual relations or intimacy with men? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and they come to you and go, Victoria, this, you know, my husband or my boyfriend is just.
I would dare ask, that's precluded by, do most women who come to you, are they single, or are they in a relationship, or is it evenly divided?
So that question, I have to think about my clients, and I'm trying to think of one of the women I just finished working with. She actually came out of a relationship.
Okay.
So that was, and just hearing her story in general was hard, you know, because it wasn't a healthy relationship for her.
Okay.
So we were working on how to cultivate more confidence within herself, so she could show up in her femininity in a way where she felt beautiful and she felt worthy to receive, which was fantastic, because by like week 2, she was like, I have 3 dates this weekend. And she was on a roll. She's wearing these beautiful black dresses. And
Is there a common question that a lot of women bring up,
in terms of intimacy?
Yeah.
I think one of the most, like, when I think of their words, I'm not going to use my words, I'm going to think of their words. It's, I don't think he sees me, or how can I get, how do I get him? And I mean this in the nicest way. Because they ask me, and then we, you know, this is where, again, it comes up with like performance anxiety in the bedroom. It's how can he, I don't think he's really seeing me. I think he's just using me, right? And the other way is, well, how can he give me an orgasm?
He's not doing it. He's there for himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more mechanical. It feels
Heads
more
up, guys.
mechanical. Huh?
I said, heads up, guys.
I'm going to
say heads up.
Heads up.
Oh, God.
Maybe
it was the wrong word.
No, heads up. No, really.
Right. But the thing is, like, so this is where we can, like, if you want, we can get into this conversation. But we start talking about the fact that we are in this mindset of that sex is this mechanical process. Like, we're in and out, like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And a lot of people don't realize that actually, like, sex, which is, you know, is there a difference between sex and intimacy? Or is there some kind of correlation? Like, some women don't realize they're capable of having an orgasm or actually having pleasure and receiving pleasure from their partners.
That's interesting. I think men are able to compartmentalize. Like, they can separate sex, you know, and they can go, I just sex the heart, caveman.
Right.
And they can get trapped in that. right? And but then when they meet someone that they really want to have intimacy with, that they really love, it's hard for them to get to that intimacy, to get to that, and to soften themselves and not be in the moment of like, "Ugh, I just want to tear it down."
I'm supposed to be a man. I'm supposed to be hard.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be hard. I'm supposed to conquer, right?
Yes.
And love is not about conquering, right? It's just the opposite. So it's hard to turn that switch off and go, hey, you're not, it's not about beating it up. It's a nice fluffy rabbit. Take it. It's supposed to be, you know what I mean? So there's there's probably, in a lot of men, it's hard to negotiate or to navigate their between being what they think a man is, hard, and being soft. And so there's a breakdown. The woman's like, hey, yeah, okay, I'll let you beat it up, but this time, what about me? That was for you, but what about me? And so the guy's like, huh? What? It's like, no, me. I didn't know that I had to.
Wait a minute. I thought by me beating it up, you would be good.
Right,
I'm good though, right? Like
That's what
this
you wanted me to do, right?
But it's like, no.
Right.
I'm not saying like, yeah, like maybe other times, but most of the time, you know.
Right. I mean, I think there's a thin line between pleasure and pain, right? They sometimes, some of the most beautiful things come out of pain, right?
Yeah.
And the most beautiful pleasures come out of pain. And so I think men sometimes, and I don't mean to beat up on men. As a man, I'm talking from experience, that you have to adjust yourself. You have to really pay attention to the woman in front of you, and it's not like one size fits all. Everybody's different,
Yes.
Some woman wants more or less of this, and so you can't go in with the same playbook you had with the other woman and bring that, because that doesn't work, right? It's going to require you to pay attention. Like, listen. Our brain chemistry, our body chemistries, we literally have different levels of sexual drives, like in quotes. Like it might be like with one woman you're with, it might be easier for her to just, she'll get there, no problem. Like wham, bam, she's good. Right.
However, then you meet someone and it's different. She wants to spend a little more time with foreplay because she actually wants it and she needs it. And I was thinking about your caveman comment. Like,
right.
There's a lot of men out there who actually want that. They want to experience that, but to them it's, I'm not sure how to ask for that because it makes me vulnerable. And being vulnerable is one of the things that are connected to deeper intimacy. It requires you to put your guard down.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so people see vulnerability as weak, and they're
Yeah,
like, I'm
they
not going to
do.
do that.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
really crazy.
ridiculous.
But through your vulnerability is how you grow.
And it's also how you connect.
Yes.
It's how you connect.
It's how you connect.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're going to do a podcast about the sharing and generous quality of vulnerability.
Just in any relationship.
In any relationship.
Any relationship.
Yeah.
It needs that.
Exactly.
Whether it's with your brother, anybody. You need that. And I think that sometimes men think that they have to be a certain way, and then they get to a place in their lives where this shit ain't working.
Yeah.
It's
You
not
have to be
working.
like a bull
You
in a
being
china closet.
exactly. There is a question. I'm getting questions. You mentioned?
I love that.
You mentioned. We got to get back because I feel like we were moving in a nice place. But I do want. There's a question that came up about, because you mentioned prostitution, right?
Yeah.
People might say that you're
A prostitute.
get confused
Or a sex worker.
or a sex worker. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts about that?
Sometimes. So the first time someone asked me, they're like, so like a sex worker or a prostitute? And I sat there for a moment. I wasn't offended,
Right.
but I did sit there for a moment. I was like, is that what you think? Is that what you think when you hear these words?
Yeah. Words like
Self-love.
self-love, right?
Self-love
Yeah.
equated with prostitution?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because I was promoting the fact that, we live in a society where nobody is out living a pleasurable lifestyle.
pleasure.
And by romancing yourself, you know, not only do you boost your confidence, but you expand your mindset, you enhance your relationships.
Yeah.
So they're like, so you
It
teaching
makes sense,
people-
though. It makes sense.
I wasn't I wasn't offended, but I was just very. I could hear that the way that certain words will trigger certain other.
Well,
like,
society has, I mean, for so long, I mean, if you think about 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it wasn't until the 60s where people were more liberated. But prior to that, and we're still struggling with it, prior to that, sex, intimacy, these words were considered very taboo.
Yes.
So it makes sense. I mean, everybody, you know, you couldn't even talk about sex.
Yeah, but you know, I'm looking at you, and I'm assuming that most of your clients are your age or younger, and it almost blows my mind that they fall into that trap, that you know, of thinking that he's talking about, because that was, I mean, yeah, mini skirts and all that came out when I was in the '60s. I was 10, 12 years old. You're looking
Yeah.
at me like, what?
Oh, you're a little older than me, so, you know.
Do you remember miniskirts?
Yeah. So,
Miniskirts and hot pants, and those were an expression of the so-called. Those were the physical expressions of the sexual revolution.
yeah, but you could
right?
get thrown out back in the, you know,
Yeah.
back in those days. Now, everybody's expressing, and it's
Well,
not a big deal.
Yeah, and then
I
that's why
mean-
I'm surprised.
I mean, well, even like I'm gonna, with your '60s comment, like even going like when I was going to school, like with girls, it was more like, well, don't wear spaghetti straps. You know, you couldn't
Huh.
go around like I'm wearing a spaghetti strap here. But if I
Right.
went to school like this, or if my fingers, you know, if the pants didn't go past my fingers, it was too short because it was, you know,
Wow.
I'm sexualizing my body. So now I grow up with this mindset of my body is an object, right? And that's what's really shifting women's mindset around their own sexuality. It's like, well, I
Right.
can't, you know, it's like a joke, but it's like, well, don't show your ankles kind of thing. Like way back in the day, like, look at her ankles, like this, the horror.
I mean,
You know, go ahead, Chris.
well, I was only going to say, I mean, religion, I think, plays a part in that because
Oh, that's so
people,
funny.
you were going that way?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that religious. I'm Muslim, all right, and so you know, Muslim women are encouraged to dress a particular way, and the verse in Quran breaks it down as a protection for them. It goes on to say because I'm going to paraphrase: men's imaginations tend to run wild. So it's interesting how you know your parents or your parents' parents kind of carry that tradition. Don't wear the spaghetti straps. Keep the skirt below your knees, because in their mind they're protecting you. It's not necessarily limiting you. And then, you know, the sexual revolution came about and said, "You're limiting me. You're not allowing me to express myself."
Right.
Blah blah blah. I'm not
Express
saying
yourself.
either way is right or wrong. I'm just talking about where this comes from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so, so there's, so and then and what I'm hearing is that, yeah, that way of being, the traditional way of being, is separating a woman or people or whomever from being aware of or cognizant of what their desires are, where they find pleasure, because they kind of get caught up in surviving and being
Yep.
protected, which is really interesting because yeah, that's all it boils down to. It boils down to being protected and surviving. And people,
Right.
you know, I find, oh my God, this is a
Interesting.
whole nother conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, and I'm just going to say really quickly, you know, I find that even in other religious practices, it's more about surviving. And you become detached from who you are as a creation. It's really weird.
So,
I'm like, whoa.
all right.
Sorry.
Mind
No,
blowing.
no, it's good stuff. That's really good stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, Victoria, what is it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but what is it that you think, if you had to put your thumb on it, or you had to wrap it in a nice little bow, because we could talk forever and ever, and we'll have you on again. What do you think it is? I know you're doing the Lord's work, and thank you for that. But what is it that, if you had to spell it out in, like, you know, few words, that men or women need more of or less of?
Good question.
What they need more or less
Less
of?
of. Like, what do you want us to know about being a love scientist? What could we all walk away with? Give us something to walk away with that. I mean, while I'm in the tub soaking, having my tea with the candles,
Like, that was such a good
I can reflect back and say, "Wow,
wow.
the love doctor." You know. I love it that you're the love doctor because
Yeah.
you think of a man, oftentimes, but a woman is the love doctor. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's what Hitch was built around.
Who?
Hitch, the movie.
Hitch. Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, when I hear your question, I think about one of the words that I hear out of almost every single person I work with,
Okay.
and that's confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah,
We all need a little more confidence.
we need a little more confidence, and it's very much within you. It's just that's the thing that is holding us back from receiving. It's holding us back from our power.
Well, when you say confidence, you got to spell it out because confidence for guys, like, what do you mean confidence? I got all the confidence in the world. I'm walking there and tear that shit up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, confidence, like,
The confidence to be vulnerable.
whoa. You hear
Which
that,
also
boys and
involves
girls?
some level
Lucky
of trust.
listeners.
Yes.
Trust.
Yeah.
I think about. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
That's great.
Go ahead.
One of the when I'm speaking with a client, we'll do a thing where I ask them what they want, and with women we'll talk about partners, and then she'll say, I just want my future partner's gonna treat me like gold, and I'm like, well, I think you're gold, like you are gold, and then I sit there for a minute and I asked her one time and I go, do you value yourself as gold? Like, do you treat yourself as gold? And for a moment it was like you would think she would laugh it off or say like, yeah, no,
No.
she did
But you
not
want
see-
someone else
but I
to
want
treat you
someone
like,
else to
isn't
treat you
that,
like-
that's, whoa.
Yeah.
So that kind of
I want you to treat me like,
gold.
I don't treat myself.
But I
yes,
won't treat
like
myself
I don't
because
even
Treat me
treat
better than I treat myself.
myself.
And that's
Yeah.
not fair. That
I hear a lot of
I'm
women
really
say that.
counting
Like,
on
I'm
you.
the queen. I want you to be like, do you treat yourself
But
like
are
a-
you?
Yeah.
Are you? Because maybe that's not what I'm looking at when I see you.
Yeah.
And I treat you as I see you.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for confidence with a man. It's like, it's like, well, what do you want? Well, I want a confident man. Well, this is what the confident man looks like. And
Right.
like-
Dude, are you
I don't want to
not so confident? Yeah.
And most of the time it's like, well, he's not expressing his emotions, or he's very short with his words, and it's like, well, because he doesn't, there's a chance that he doesn't feel safe to trust you. He doesn't feel safe to express
So
his
it's the
vulnerabilities.
same for a man.
Yeah.
Turns out humans are humans.
Humans are
So
humans.
you need to learn to be more confident with yourself so you can build the trust and feel safe to express your vulnerabilities. And that's where a lot of folks need help with.
So I have a question then. How useful would it be for someone to say to another person, you can trust me?
No, your actions would have to follow as well.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's person to person. And to me, to build trust requires that consistent action. It's the communication, and you feel it with people. People are smart. They can read into you. Like, we read each other very well.
Yeah.
And
You think?
What if we weren't afraid of getting our hearts broken?
what?
What if we weren't afraid
Ah,
to have our hearts broken?
Yeah.
honestly, like that goes back to communication. Just speak your truth. Speak your truth.
Speak your truth.
Say what you need to say, because when you hit the pillow tonight, I want you to be able to lay there and be like, I said what I needed to say.
Right. I got it out.
Because
I was authentic.
if you're authentic because you value yourself, you know that the people who are meant to be in your life, they're going to stick around for you.
Wow.
And by you expressing yourself, like, let's say you express your desire to be with someone, and like for a woman, I promise you, like, more often than not, we don't want to express ourselves. We're like, no, he's going to come to me. No, honey, he's not coming.
He's not coming.
He's not coming. But you need to be able to put yourself out there, and that's being vulnerable. So it's, say what you need to say.
Right.
Like you said, if more people were okay with it, which is really hard because, again, we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be hurt. Nobody
Yeah,
wants
right.
that. But those are normal experiences, normal emotions.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation.
Great
We're gonna
conversation. We gotta
wrap
have
it
you
up
back
for
on.
now, but
Yeah.
it's
So,
been wonderful.
Any burning desires?
Any burning
Desires that you want to say to the people out in podcast and YouTube world?
Oh, man. What are your burning desires? See you
great.
laughing.
That's fantastic. That's great. My burning desire is honestly, you mean at this moment, in this moment in time, is for you to be able to articulate everything you want to articulate in this conversation. Like I want you to be able to get it out. That's why I asked that question. And I'm just really happy that you signed on to coming and joining Omar and I on this show.
Thank you.
We wanted to pivot and give, we don't want this to be just a bunch of men talking and
Right.
blah, 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 which oftentimes happen. But it's really about a human experience. And you can't have a human experience if you're not inclusive. It has to include everyone.
Yeah, thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
It was been a great conversation.
Wow.
I really appreciate it and enjoy having you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and look forward. Maybe we continue this and dig deeper.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's my favorite.
For sure.
It's my favorite. And I'm trying to think of an answer to your question.
Burning
What is a
desire.
burning
Is there
desire?
anything that, meaning is there anything that you want, you could offer up to men or women of course, and men, because I don't see them as one or the other. They're regardless of what your preference is or what you do, we're humans first.
Yeah.
And so, what could you offer in terms of intimacy and loving yourself?
Okay, I'm going to keep it super short.
Okay.
Like super short gold nugget for that. So first I'll start with some of the three things that I did that really helped build my confidence.
Okay.
And because I was able to build up my confidence, I've been able to experience just amazing. Like, I'm very grateful for the lifestyle I've had over the past year.
Sure.
And people were like, well, how would you do that? Like, how did you were able to do that? Like, I've been through boudoir sessions, just having these very sensual photos of me being taken.
Mm-hmm.
I've traveled the country. I've traveled out of the country by myself. And these all sound like people would hear it as like as a single one. They're like, oh, I would never do that. And I was like, well, here's the thing. Here's what got me there. I learned to date myself. I learned to romance myself.
How do you date yourself? Tell us a little bit about this.
Probably starts with hot bath, man.
Right. I know it could, or end with a
And
hot bath.
candles,
Right.
candles and flowers.
All that.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing because deep down in all of us, there's a hopeful romantic, not hopeless.
Yeah.
You're a hopeful romantic.
Yeah.
We all desire intimacy, whether it's short period or a long period of time. And for me, it was, coming out of that relationship, my whole identity was gone. It was, well, now I need to rebuild up and start nurturing the woman I desired, the things I desired and wanted. I was like, I can cultivate that myself. You're very capable of cultivating the relationship you want, but you need to do it with yourself first.
Right.
So take yourself out to dinner. Start small. Maybe go to the coffee shop one day with your favorite book. Or like Chris, I love that. Like, take a bath, or, that popular song with Miley Cyrus, buy yourself the flowers. I've talked to men who buy themselves flowers. I love it. I go to Trader Joe's, walking out with some flowers. And I'm like, I love that for you.
Yeah.
And
No,
for
I get 'em
women,
all the time.
my female clients, when I, engage with them, and their homework is to take themselves out to dinner. And I'm not saying go out to, some simple restaurant. I'm like, I want you to pick a restaurant that you've always wanted to try, as long as within their budget. And they take themselves out. They dress up to the nines. They need to be comfortable with the fact that even though you are dining independently, you're not alone. You are simply a free being who's learning to cultivate confidence.
Yes,
There's
yes.
nothing sexier than seeing someone who's able to put themselves in a room because they own it. They claim that power. And that is how I've been able to romance myself. And that's the same information I'm throwing out there. And I can definitely keep going.
Great. So that was two. Was there one more?
Oh, one more. I would, with romancing yourself,
Yeah.
so it kind of goes back to intimacy, right? Or even like with sex with women.
That's right.
Besides being able to, I'm trying to think of the right way to deliver it, but I'm gonna say it right now.
Okay.
You need to spend some me time with you.
Yeah.
Like you need to schedule me time. I'm talking like, I'm not saying go straight to, masturbation. I'm talking like, I want you to get some lotion, light some candles, play some music. I call it the pleasure playlist on Spotify that I share with my community.
Pleasure, I like that.
Yes. You got to set the tone. You got to cultivate a sense of trust and of safety within yourself and your own body and
Right.
physical touch. Whether you start with massage, whether you scratch your head or you're rubbing lotion, you're, humming, breathing, and then you move into your own pleasure practice.
Sure.
That builds confidence because now you know what feels good to you so that you can share that information with your future partner, your current partners, and the next thing you know, your intimacy is hotter and wetter than ever.
Yeah. Ooh, hotter and wetter.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that, lucky listener? Hotter and wetter.
Y'all hit the jackpot today.
So thank you, Victoria, for joining us
Thank you for
on
having
another
me.
installment of Not Your Conversation. And yeah.
All right, guys. Let us know how you felt about this one.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Share with us. But I have a jam session.
Yeah. Let's follow you.
Okay.
Talk about that. Yeah. What do you want us to follow you?
Oh yeah. If you I make this I play this as a playful joke, but I am on Instagram at Victoria Icenhower, and I can send you the link.
Okay.
You want to spell Icenhower?
ICE. Ann as in Nancy.
Yeah.
HOWER.
Good, because
Yeah.
there was an
It sounds
Eisenhower.
like the president.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
this is Vanilla Ice.
Yeah. We'll
But-
put it up.
And one of the things I tell my clients, and I was actually very lucky to be on a stage a couple weeks ago, and one of my nuggets about loving yourself was taking nudes, and I told them, I said, if you need a space, just follow me on Instagram because they're there, but they're tasteful.
Yeah.
Very tasteful.
I've seen them.
I've checked you out. Yeah.
But I'm on Instagram, and I if any of your audiences have questions, I can drop my email. I have a program I market for women. I also work for men. Everyone deserves to be in a space where they
That's good to hear.
feel like to build that confidence, to feel safe, to be vulnerable.
Nice.
So,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Bye guys.